Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily, the first English news program in Poland. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. Polish political parties are now in the process of submitting the electoral list for the upcoming elections to the parliament. The current ruling Law and Justice Party submitted a list of candidates, including its party members, coalition partners, and former members of the Kukiz 15 movement.
Even before the publication of the letter, Deputy Prime Minister Jarosław Gowin made clear his confidence in the list of candidates, which he believed would ensure the ruling party's victory and majority in parliament.
Bardzo ciężko pracowaliśmy nad tym.
We worked very hard for the list to be strong. Sometimes we even encouraged competition in the list, because motivating the candidates to work always pays off.
Zawsze przekłada się na sukces.
The opposition criticizes the Law and Justice Party for the inclusion of family members of politicians, including Professor Jan Duda or Kornel Morawiecki, as candidates for the Senate.
Pojawia się syn Czarneckiego.
There is the son of Czarnecki, son of Mrs. Kempa. I understand they squeeze their families in wherever they can. It looks like it's the Law and Justice's policy.
To jest jakiś program PiS-u.
Despite recent controversies over the government-funded flights of former Speaker of the Sejm, Marek Kuchciński, the politician did not lose his first place from Krosno.
Marszałek Kuchciński jest...
Speaker of the Parliament Kuchciński is a long-time political partner of Jarosław Kaczyński, both in the Center Agreement and the Law and Justice Party. You simply don't get rid of such partners.
Centrum w Prawie i Sprawiedliwości.
The Civic Coalition Civic Platform is to announce its list on Monday.
Following the National Electoral Convention of the Polish People's Party in Płock, leaders of the electoral lists of the Polish coalition were presented. The Liberal Party recently joined forces with the Kukiz 15 movement, with Paweł Kukiz set to be the number one of the list on the Opol.
Giving a speech at the Polish People's Party's convention in Płock, the leader of the party stressed that the Polish coalition wasn't created against anyone. We're not anti-law and justice, we're not anti-opposition, we're not against, but for strong Poland, democratic, just and for everyone. After Kosiniak-Kamysz, the leader of the Kukiz 15 movement, Paweł Kukiz, also gave a speech, during which he didn't hide his emotions as well as satisfaction for reaching a compromise with the Liberal Party concerning a shared electoral list.
Władek, ja bardzo Tobie i całemu PSL-owi.
Władek, I sincerely thank you and the entire Polish People's Party for signing this agreement. The agreement which will educate our citizens and which will come to life. If we make these postulates come true, and let me remind you, no other party wanted to write them into their programs, we will get rid of the pathology in every political party. That's why all the other parties were scared to include them. It's simple.
Wprowadzimy te postulaty w życie.
Then the number ones on electoral list of the Polish coalition were announced. In Opole, Paweł Kukiz will be opening the list. In Warsaw, the son of Władysław Bartoszewski, Władysław Teofil Bartoszewski, and in Tarnów, the leader of the Polish People's Party himself, Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz. Agnieszka Ścigaj from the Kukiz 15 movement, who candidates from the first position in Krakow, believes that a big part of the voters expects a central party.
Czego oczekujemy?
We don't expect to get above 5%, we expect to get above 10% to have a direct influence on the Law and Justice, which will probably win these elections. That way we could keep the ideas of the current ruling party in check and introduce citizen control to them.
Kontrolę obywatelską.
The Polish People's Party will run in the autumn parliamentary elections as the Electoral Committee, PSL Polish Coalition, which will include, among others, the MPs of the Union of European Democrats, members of local governments and representatives of NGOs. The project was also joined by the Kukiz 15 movement, which signed a program agreement with the Liberal Party for the elections.
As the election campaign heats up, more and more falsified information is starting to surface on social media. A post made by Civic Platform MP Cezary Tomczyk has stirred up controversy when it showed a picture of the leader of the Law and Justice Party, Jarosław Kaczyński, standing first in line ahead of President Duda to lay wreath, allegedly during the recent military parade on the Polish Armed Forces Day. It turned out, however, that the picture is a year old and from a ceremony commemorating Kaczyński's late twin brother, former President Lech Kaczyński.
Poland in 2019 on one picture, the fall of Andrzej Duda.
To jest właśnie taki przykład.
It's yet another example of fake news, which was supposed to divert everyone's attention from what's really important, what can really affect our everyday lives, what can really influence how Poles will vote based on real facts, knowledge and political programs. Its goal was to divert the public from this discussion. It was also done to accuse political opponents of practices and views which they don't have. It's not the way to go. Here and now, I would like to appeal to the politicians of the Civic Platform, to its leader Grzegorz Schetyna, to stop this shameful practice of throwing fake news at the Polish society. It's something Poles don't deserve. The Polish citizens deserve to be represented by serious politicians who talk about serious matters in a serious manner, and not to be misled and lied to about what's happening in our country. It's actually offensive to all our citizens.
Polacy zasługują na to, żeby reprezentowali ich poważni politycy.
The Spanish NGO vessel Open Arms, with 134 African migrants on board, is waiting for the Italian Minister of Interior, Matteo Salvini, to allow it to dock in Italy. Salvini has so far remained firm in his opposition, despite representatives of the NGO stating that the situation on board is getting out of control.
Oskar Kams, the director of Open Arms, states that he cannot guarantee safety on board any longer. The Open Arms situation is out of control. It is outside our possibilities to control. Yesterday we communicated to Spanish President Pedro Sanchez and Chancellor Angela Merkel, French President Emmanuel Macron and European Parliament President David Sassoli, as well as all the Italian authorities that starting from today we cannot feel responsible for guaranteeing the safety of any of the 134 people that we have on board the Open Arms, nor of the 19 volunteers who are seized in the Open Arms. It is now impossible to maintain the calm. Whenever collective actions occur, we could not stop them. There are many ways to damage yourself in a ship like Open Arms, and there are hundreds of ways to commit suicide on board. Yesterday, Kams stated that the NGO vessel will enter an Italian port without permission if they deem it necessary for humanitarian reasons. Yes, if it will become a humanitarian issue and if we deem it necessary to enter a port, we will. At the moment, we are at a crisis point. We are really in crisis. We are talking to the emergency services to keep evacuating people for psychological reasons. Unfortunately, every evacuation, every slight change creates a different equilibrium on board, and it becomes difficult to control. It is an indication of the level of the psychological stress. France, Germany, Romania, Portugal, Spain and Luxembourg have said they will help relocate the migrants, but the reaction from Salvini's Interior Ministry was skeptical.
That's it for today. See you next time on Poland Daily. But stay tuned for the Poland Daily Weather Report, followed by the Poland Daily Business section.
Welcome to Poland Daily Weather. In this night, sky will be light overcast in most regions. Cloudy sky around Baltic coast. Temperature will increase and will range from 30 degrees in Lublin to 17 degrees in Bydgoszcz and Koszalin. Let's take a look at the forecast for tomorrow. Across the country, we may expect plenty of sunlight. Temperature will rise in the whole country. We will see the highest temperature 30 degrees in Wrocław. The minimum 25 degrees will be in Szczecin and Rzeszów. Let's see the forecast for the next days. On Monday, the hottest weather will be on the east and in central Poland, and there we will see 28 degrees. Sunlight will appear in most regions except the southwest. On Tuesday, pressure will rise, but the temperature will fall to 21 degrees. Thunderstorms is expected on the southeast. On Wednesday, thunderstorms and downpour will appear across Poland. More sunlight is expected on the northeast. Goodbye and see you soon.
Poland Daily Business Edition. Tonight we'll talk about the issue that seems to be #1 in Europe. It changed our perspective how we look at Germany. It is changing our perspective how we look at the European Union. The issue is obviously a refugee crisis. Former ambassador of Republic of Poland, Ryszard Żółtaniecki. Sir, welcome to the show.
Good evening.
Will tell us about this in a perspective, because Europe was always a magnet for the various people who wanted to make their living in this area, but since 10 years it became some masses of uneducated people being trafficked to the European Union, and European Union is working hand in hand with human traffickers, and this is as a virtue. How does it come?
Europeans in general are trapped by the two contradictory, conflicting values. On the one hand is common sense, prudence, and responsibility for the constituency and citizens. On the other hand, we believe in certain values. We are oriented for help, for the generosity, for charity. And here, what happened a few years ago, it was the major mistake made by Europe. Mistake or the certain failed project. As we know, Europe is going through the very deep and dangerous demographic crisis. We need labor force. The experiment with Turks, with so-called Gastarbeiters, in the past, was a kind of success. Those people found the way to assimilate themselves, to adjust themselves to the new conditions. But they were Turks from the organized state, with a certain political culture, with a tradition of communication with Europe. Now we deal with a different phenomenon. Those unhappy people who are looking for kind of paradise, for peace, for well-being, for prosperity. They were encouraged at the beginning by politicians, and then some bad guys in Africa, in Europe, everywhere, realized that it could be excellent business, trafficking people to Europe. And again, I return to the beginning. Still, we are paralyzed with our values. What can we do? How can we stop those boats floating crossing the sea?
Why not try on the base of law? We have the immigration law. Every European country has its embassies, is issuing a visas. And
theoretically, yes. From the formal legal point of view, you are right. But they are coming. They are coming. They are
turn them back.
How?
By force.
By force. So, including shooting.
If they will resist.
One of the biggest challenges in this case.
Authority.
No, I'm not defending the traffickers. I'm not defending mafia, which is involved in the case. But we have to understand that we are, to a high extent, we are paralyzed. We are morally paralyzed. We cannot install laser guns somewhere in Sardinia or in the south of Italy and shoot them.
Right. We also see this trafficking.
You are saying send them back, but we don't know where.
Where they come from, yes.
This is, you see, it's a situation. There is no good solution, and there is no good even prospect for the future. And still we receive the signals from Paris that we should absorb those who are coming.
There is about 500 million people in Europe, and there will be soon about 3 billion people in Africa. It is physically impossible.
And this is not only Africa, it's also Middle East. It's also Near East. There are many places in the world places of unhappiness, of war,
Venezuela, for example. What about Venezuelans?
But we cannot absorb all of them here in this small little spot of the globe. So
there is not enough.
Probably the biggest challenge for us is to be strong and cruel, even merciless, for those who are weak, because we have to take care of ourselves. We have to survive.
Europe is not looking at this issue from this point of view?
You see, from this point of view, also the certain Roman emperors at the end of the Roman Empire also didn't see the situation as the dramatic and epic.
Right, you are mentioning the Germans who entered the Roman land and started to organize their own countries because they had the weapons and they weren't afraid of using them.
And they were getting a position of majority.
That's true.
And also, this is, at the end, you see, nothing is wrong with newcomers. We need people. But we need people independent of race or religion. But we need such a people who are able to assimilate, at least to cooperate with us, to learn what kind of values are in force in this part of the world. And we expect from them respect for those values and for our order.
The immigrants are already shaping the political spectrum in Europe. On one side, we have legislators who are afraid of taking stance in defense of Christian faith and religion because there is this Muslim minority that may affect the voting. On the other side, in Italy, we say the tidal change because there's no new political party that's about to take over the rule of this country for years to come.
So I mentioned just before that there is a kind of the challenge for us to be strong and to be cruel toward those who are weak and unhappy. And one of the few European politicians, Mr. Salvini, Deputy Prime Minister of Italy, belongs to one of the few, very little group of those politicians who are aware what is coming and what consequences for us. Because nothing is given for granted. It's a permanent challenge to be and to secure our well-being, our prosperity, and our, let's say, subjective feeling of being secure, being safe in this. This is our land, this is our country. And we want to rule it and organize our way.
Ambassador Ryszard Żółtaniecki, thank you very much for this conversation. And that was it for Poland Daily Business tonight.
Welcome back to Poland Daily Weather. Let's take a look at the forecast for tomorrow. Across the country, we may expect plenty of sunlight. Temperature will rise in the whole country. We will see the highest temperature 30 degrees in Wrocław. The minimum 25 degrees will be in Szczecin and Rzeszów. Let's take a look at the forecast for our continent. In Central Europe, more sunlight will appear. Temperature will fall and will range from 22 to 26 degrees. Higher temperature we will see in Vienna, 29 degrees. The weather will improve on the British Islands. Temperature will increase to 23 degrees in London. Scorching day ahead of residents of Spain. In Madrid, we will see even 38 degrees. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Good day, everyone. My name is Maria Kądzielska, and today on Poland Daily Culture, we are going to talk about unique cultural and educational undertaking, Polish Debutant Program. We have in studio with us Agnieszka Michalczyk.
Good evening.
And Małgorzata Tomorowicz-Malińska.
A pleasure to be here.
Founder and organizer of the program.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you for coming. But before we start, let's watch a short film. Ladies, debutante program includes also charitable actions. What are they? Who do you cooperate with?
Well, one of the actions that we have, campaigns, is connected with the Actors Veterans Home in Skolimów, which is near Warsaw. And we cooperate very closely, of course, with Bogusława Skwarna, who is the granddaughter of the founder of the Skolimów Actors Veterans Home.
Antoni Bednarczyk. Yeah, the actor.
And
Pre-war actor.
What you do together? How do you take girls to Skolimów and they meet actors, those also actors?
So we take every edition of the program to Skolimów, so the girls, they can meet the actors and the ballerinas, so they can hear about the history and they can spend the time together. So our action is called Youth for the experience. Yes.
Youth for experience.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's this comparison between young girls who are beginning their life and learning, and
the
all
actors,
divas and actors who had their life on a stage.
Yes. And they have a lot of experience and they can share with our debutantes.
A lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, which they impart, and of course, which is most, you might say that they benefit, the young girls benefit from this close contact and interaction with these elderly, very wise people who have been experienced, not only by life, but by their profession, you might say. So they do teach them a lot. And what is most important, that this house also has its needs. And therefore, we try to aid them by participating in an auction organized also by Bogusława Skwarna, and us, and it is held at the Orangery in
Wilanów Palace.
Yes, absolutely. And there are all sorts of artifacts there, usually paintings, but not only. You have handmade beautiful shawls, you have wonderful china, different things, which artifacts actually, and there's an auction.
There's an auction.
Yes.
And debutantes help with the auction.
Absolutely. They're absolutely a part. They participate there and they help us organize everything. And all the proceeds from this auction go to the elderly home, of course, for the actors, so that they can buy some medical equipment or maybe new refrigerators, whatever that is needed.
Carpet to the library and chairs, whatever they need.
I know you organize also an event for children and around the Christmas time. How does it look like?
Well, we go to the Podlasie region of course, to Białystok, and here the family Czarnecki Foundation, together with us, we help, the debutantes help with the, how shall I put it, neurologically incapacitated children. And there's quite a huge number of those children who are in dire need of a smile in everyday life. So we try to, the girls help there simply at the Opera House. This was last Christmas time. And they simply they pack the presents and gifts which are given to every participant, but also help them, around the whole building to seat them.
And we also try to find the presents.
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Quite hard work.
Very hard work, and this is
they
very
prepare
trying.
The presents, and they talk later to children, and they spend time with them.
They help Santa Claus because there is a Santa Claus
who comes from Riovanemi, the true and real and only Santa Claus from Riovanemi in Finland. He comes every year, especially for this event.
Especially for this event, which Polish debutantes take part as well.
Yes, and the next day we are in the main market of Białystok and we sell the cookies. And the money we have, after selling the cookies, we can organize Christmas Eve for 1,000 homeless people.
Well,
in
simply the
Białystok.
money is donated to the Czarnecki family, and not only, and well, all the money goes, all the proceeds to organizing
Christmas
for the homeless, for the needy, for the lonely.
So during this year of debutante program, in addition, when there are lessons and charity programs and shows and ball, so it's kind of like divided. Lessons in Wilanów Palace and charity events. So there is a charity event for Skalimov, for disabled children. Is anything else?
Yeah, we go also to Kraków.
Yes,
Yeah.
where we participate in also in a campaign for, well, raising money, you know, for very ill children who are in dire need of financial assistance for their rehabilitation, for all sorts of medical treatments.
And the next event, you're inviting also all the viewers of Poland Daily Culture, is for shelter, for animals shelter.
For the animals, yes. This is one of our
beloved,
beloved actions. Yes.
How will it look like?
It will last for 2 days during the days of Wilanów. And
so when it exactly dates? When our
7th and 8th of September this year.
7th and 8th of September this year.
Yes, yes.
And potentially every viewer of Poland Daily Culture can go to Palas Wilanów and take part in the action. What are you going to do?
Well, we are going to have, well, we definitely are going to have some abandoned cats and dogs. Which are in need of families, simply foster families. And we try to facilitate adoptions of these abandoned animals. We also try to raise money, but also collect things for shelter, for the Świętego Franciszka, I think, St. Francis shelter for the homeless cats and dogs. But also we want to help these, we shall see, but we would like to assist also a shelter for the hedgehogs and for squirrels and for even bats.
Wonderful. So thank you for sharing this with us, and I hope see you all on 7th and 8th in Wilanów Palace, rescuing animals with debutantes.
I'm here today in the Saxon Gardens at the heart of Warsaw. Since 1727, a public garden, one of the first in Europe. But it started life as something more, the garden of a palace built by the first Saxon king of Poland, Augustus II. A member of the Wettin dynasty from Saxony became kings of Poland. Why were they here? What were they doing? Why did they build this palace? And what is more, what is a Saxon axis? An exercise in urban planning. Join me in Poland Daily History today when we find out more.
So they changed it at the beginning of 19th century into the landscape art. Yeah? So it used to be the parterres with the beds of flowers, and then in rise up. So it changed also completely the view of the axis. You can see you used to have in the 18th century clear view on the palace.
Yes.
And later on it was covered also with trees. Yeah, so it was a completely different idea. I think that we are exactly now standing in the middle of the main alley, so that's the point from which a lot of the 19th century photographs were taken.
Yes, you can see
exactly
straight down
here.
to where we were earlier, to the beginning of that little plaque on the road. In a straight line we've come through the centre of the palace, through the fountain sundial, and then the axis which continues all the way down to the west and what would have been the Iron Gate at the end there.
Yeah, at the end on the other side there used to be the Iron Gate, and actually that was at the other part of the palace that was also the great saloon that we mentioned for the parties and for the fireworks. But we used to have also Operalnia, which used to be the Saxon theater as well. Yes, so especially August III was a great mecenas of theater, and he was.
I mean, he was quite a patron of the arts generally. I mean, buildings, obviously, Dresden and here, the arts and so on. We probably forget. We probably liable to concentrate on his failure as a king, and not so much on his success as a patron of the arts.
Yeah, especially August III, because quite often we in Warsaw and in Poland we consider rather Stanisław August Poniatowski as a great mecenas of art and the king of the Enlightenment period. Yeah, but it was even before a lot of those new projects were started by August III, culturally and in different contexts. Yeah, so the theater, for example, that was one of the best theater troupes, the Saxon troupe, in Europe, actually, in Central Europe. So actually, when the king was here, because part of the time he was in Dresden, part of the time he was here in Warsaw. When he was in Warsaw, we can say that it was then the center of the theater life in Central Europe.
But this theater was also demolished in the 19th century.
I mean that the first Saxon theater, it was even demolished, dismantled in 1772 because it was in a bad condition. And later on this place of the theater was built the Warsaw Stock Exchange building, pre-war Stock Exchange building, and which initially was the school for riding horses. So there were a lot of buildings around here: the school for riding horses, barracks for the soldiers, also, and so on and so on.
Stables for their horses.
Yeah,
all sorts of things.
Exactly.
Okay.
Here we can see also something which is very interesting, which is the sculpture of architecture, actually war architecture. You can see those.
That's a typical, a typical fort, isn't it?
Yeah, a typical fort, exactly.
The star design,
yes. Yeah. And here in the middle we have, at least on the other side also, the four sculptures which probably fully survived the war, which is also very good,
marvelous, isn't it?
Yeah. Good to remember. Yeah? So we have the architecture, but we have also music, the painting,
history.
And,
I think I saw
the
earlier.
history. Yeah, so different allegories. Yeah.
They're marvelous. You have this in statuary. Either it's an allegory to, as you say, art, history, philosophy, or then it's an allegory to the actual philosophers themselves. And it's great. Yeah. It's certainly also in landscape in the 18th century generally, in any planning of any landscape. You had to have buildings, temples, statues to remind you of the sort of cultural inheritance and the cultural influences. So these gardens can also be a sort of an exercise, not just in beautiful gardens, but also history and culture.
Yeah.
Teaching you, reminding you of the.
And also the king
basis.
was showing himself as an enlightened king.
Exactly.
Yeah? And as a king who knows the philosophy, who knows the arts, and so on and so on.
He's sort of advertising that he is responding to these influences by planting these statues in his garden.
That was kind of main advertising alley for the Wettins
in
Warsaw.
These are of course in the days before social media, so he couldn't take a selfie in front of a book, thank God. But he gave us a beautiful statue instead, which is much better. The sort of a lesson in stone, I think.
And it was very lively placed back in the Wettins period, because the Wettins were organizing their first festivals also festivals for the knights,
Yes.
which were riding horses and cutting watermelons from the
yes.
horse.
I think Calvary
and
still do
shooting,
that, yes.
because especially August I and both of them, they were actually fans of shooting as well and hunting. So they were hunting dogs even in their order. So
right.
they were doing many things here and organizing the theater. So they wanted to attract also the people of Warsaw with the theater. They weren't that successful. That was rather the next period of the Stanisław August Poniatowski, when the people of Warsaw really get involved into the theater in Warsaw, actually.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Poland Daily Travel. We've got a splendid series of programs for you, so just sit back and enjoy the ride as we take you on a magical mystery tour through the Campinos National Forest on the outskirts of beautiful downtown Warsaw. Campinos National Park was established in 1959 to protect the unique complex of inland dunes and wetlands, the natural plant communities, and the rich fauna, that's animals, and numerous monuments of Polish history and culture. And indeed, there are some pretty substantial dunes, as you will see. So stay tuned, you won't want to miss that. And did you know that Campinos National Forest, which is a UNESCO biosphere, is twinned with the Indiana Dunes National Park in the United States? The park covers an area of about 40,000 hectares. And in the park you will find a moose, a lynx, lots of owls, plenty of deer, and even a bear. Just kidding about the bear. And no wolves either, unfortunately. More than 73% of the park is covered with forests. It's a wildlife sanctuary with over 200 species of birds. There are swamps and forests and dunes and beavers and otters, to name a few more animals, along with pine martens, foxes, polecats, and as we said, lynx. And indeed, you might see a wolf. Campinos, the lungs of Warsaw, 40,000 hectares of wilderness on the northwest frontier of Warsaw. It has history, it has beauty, it has mystery. So you won't want to miss this series of exciting episodes from the Campinos National Forest. It was a lot of fun doing it, and I'm sure you're going to really enjoy it. On Poland Daily Travel, your favorite source for travel information about Poland and the best travel programming about Poland that has ever been attempted, that has ever been done, and that you've ever seen. Stay with us, Poland Daily Travel. Why do we do it? We do it for you. Welcome everybody to Poland Daily Travel. I'm here sitting in an actual 100 years, a cottage which looks like it would have 100 years ago and has been reconstructed to do exactly that. I'm here with our guide, Mariusz Morkowski, yeah, who is education officer here in the park and has been extremely nice to us to show us around this amazing place of which he is one of the custodians. Mariusz, co mamy dokładnie tutaj? What do we have what are we looking at?
Jesteśmy w zagrodzie, a właściwie dokładnie w chacie średnio zamożnego gospodarza, w jego kuchni.
We're in the kitchen of the old, 100 years old style cottage.
Urządzonej tak, jak to ludzie dawniej mieszkali. Także dużo etnograficznych przedmiotów, ale także mamy tutaj historyczną wystawę, bo Puszcza Kampinoska to nie tylko bogata przyroda, ale również bogata kultura i historia.
Okay, so this is the kitchen, actually, of the place. And the other part, the other two rooms, are a museum of the Second World War, because a very big battle took place near here with the Polish army fighting the Germans in September of 1939. And also, during the Warsaw Uprising, this was an important base in the forest here. There were many different places in the forest during the Warsaw Uprising, but this was one important area. Of course, the forest is very big. Za całe puszcze, ile trwało?
Kampinoski Park Narodowy ma 380 km², 38,5 tysiąca hektarów.
Okay, it's about 40,000 hectares, as I believe we said in an earlier episode in the introduction. But to drive around it is over 100 and something kilometers. Okay, co jest najciekawsze?
O, ciekawe, że z Ameryki jest...
We have something from America. Go get it, Mariusz. Mariusz is looking for it. Co to jest?
Wyżymarka. Żeby do ubrań tu wkładano i kręcono, i żeby wodę odcisnąć.
Okay. This says Riding Horse brand clothes wringer. So what that is, this is from America, as Mariusz said, you would put your clothes through this and turn this, and it would take the water out so they could dry quicker. And sometimes my washing machine doesn't work. I could use one of these even today. Yeah, very nice.
Kołowrotki do przędzenia nici, o które mogła się owrzeciono, mogła się ukuć śpiąca królewna.
Okay, this is a spinning wheel, yeah?
Yeah.
It's for zrobić ubranie, tak? Czy nie?
Nić najpierw.
To knit. It's for knitting. Yeah? Right.
Tak.
Yeah, so you put something...
No, it's for doing thread.
Yeah, well, okay, thread or knitting. Okay, thank you from off camera. This is very good. That was Vova, who's helping me. Yeah. One of our cameramen. Thank you, Vova.
Z lnu, tak?
Yeah.
Len.
Okay, very good. You would make linen, yeah? Len.
Linen.
Right. Po angielsku?
Po
Linen.
angielsku,
Yeah.
linen.
Okay. Very good. I co jest napisane tam?
Wiara, nadzieja, miłość.
Okay. Faith, hope, and love. That's what it says right there. And somebody's created this, sewed this.
Dzień dobry.
Here it says dzień dobry, good day, of course, in Polish.